Hey guys, one of my friends when I at school again wanted me to watch another thing which is Villager News. 12 minutes, so yeah. Let's go. And the animation, that seems
It's
fun.
2013, and Minecraft is exploding in popularity all around the world.
That's when I was born.
Villager News 1 has just been released and everyone is screaming at us, demanding more! Everywhere we went, people were asking about Villager News. Aren't you going to ask about Villager News?
Again. Let's
No.
just turn the
With all this
quality
new
up.
pressure placed upon us by our audience. With this new pressure placed upon us by ourselves, we decided it was time to make a sequel. And of course, when making an animation for YouTube, you have to get it done fast. And that leads to some mistakes. So let's find out.
He's an egg.
Wrong with our videos. And this time, it's Villager News 2, 3, and 4. We got a few this time. Thank you very much to everybody who watched and commented on the last video. A few of you mentioned that you wouldn't have ever noticed the problems that we found. And that's a good thing. It means that they didn't get in the way of the story. But it's still fun to try and find them.
Aha! I found a technical issue. What? I'm not a technical.
Just like last time, I'm not going to be commenting on the animation style choices because that has evolved over time. But on that subject, we did get rid of the pixely faces.
Achoo! Oh no, my pixels! It's almost like people didn't like them.
But anyway, let's jump into the first video. Villager News 2 revolves around this UFO wreaking havoc in the background, and also a SWAT team raids a house because a villager forgot to stamp their library book.
Your book has been stamped. Thank you.
Okay, the first one isn't really anything wrong, but it gets an honorable mention. This sound effect is a fart.
Number one. Ew.
Okay, the first real one. The Villager News studio gets a big window in this one, where you can see all the way back to the lack of a horizon. The outside world just ends here. In the last video, we talked about how we used trees to block out the view. It looks like we tried here, but we missed a spot.
I'd like to see.
This shot had to be completely reanimated from scratch on the very last night. So a lot of the animation is super basic to save time. Like, check out how this guy just zips from one side of the screen to the other. This actually looks kind of like the animation in Layout on our newer videos. Layout is where you bring in all the characters and props and you get everything ready to be animated. Speaking of animation problems, later on we have this huge catapult made of villagers firing at the UFO there. So this one villager gets yeeted at the UFO, but if we go through frame by frame, he just sort of stops in midair. But then some more janky physics takes over. He bounces off the UFO, does a little flip, and then he speeds up. Like, I'm no scientist, but I don't think you can just gain momentum like that. So a few seconds later, the UFO is doing its thing, sucking up all the villagers. It gets to this guy, it wipes him up the glass, and then it moves over to this guy. Villager number 4 just carries on reading the news, and we assume the UFO has gone to suck up more things. But it didn't. The shadow is right here. It just kind of stays there, hanging about. That happened because when you're animating and a character or an object goes off screen, you just stop animating it. There is no point in animating something that you're not going to see. So good job you can't see it too, because some really weird stuff can happen off screen. And while this is super efficient, we don't always get to see where the shadows fall until way after the animation is finished. And if we don't notice it, we end up with problems like this.
Glenn, a rocket with our best and brightest.
Did you see it?
Yes?
Let's go back. So we're looking at this guy. So in the file, he runs past the camera, and once he's off screen, he just starts running on the spot. And that's fine, but in the video, the shadows give it away. Look at that. It's 2021 and we're still making these mistakes 8 years later.
Wow.
And it's not just when characters go off screen that we stop animating. Sometimes entire body parts aren't animated. Like, if you can't see them, what's the point?
What are you talking about? This is fine. Thank you, villager number
So here, the SWAT villagers break into this house. And as the camera goes through the door, you notice it's massive inside, like huge. We were toying with the idea of the villager houses being sort of like the ones in old school RPGs, you know, like bigger when you're inside them. And while that's a cool idea, we never really expanded on it after this.
Oh.
So to do this, we just had 2 different sets, an outside and an inside. And then we just used a hidden cut to switch between them as the camera gets to the door. There it is. But you can see that inside there's all these lights. Whereas a few seconds ago, before we get into the door, you can clearly see through the window that it's just a small house interior. So...
This is literally unwatchable. I've got...
This villager is floating. So you remember those motion blur issues in Villager News 1? Well, this one has tons. As the Tom Cruise villager rappels down, we can see that there's actually nothing outside the windows. It's just white. Then, as Tom Cruise stabs the book, his rope suddenly becomes a pole stuck to his back.
No!
You may have noticed that the window here isn't standard Minecraft glass. We changed it because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see anything going on in the background. If you've ever used the Optifine plugin in the game, it's kinda like that. And that in itself isn't the problem. It's the fact that we were so inconsistent with it. We didn't do it here, we didn't do it there, and the worst one of all of them is this one, right next to it.
That's it. We're done.
So that brings the Villager News 2 count to... Ooh, that's going to be a tough one to beat. But let's give it a go.
Villager News.
Villager News 3. An innocent villager is making himself some toast when all of a sudden he's surrounded and accused of kidnapping another villager.
Release the hostages! I just want to make toast!
We actually couldn't find that many technical issues with this one.
Yay! I'm a hostage too!
But let's see what we did find.
Oh no, I'm trapped.
Right at the beginning, the sign says Villager News 3. It's the only video to actually have a number after Villager News, so that's a ding for inconsistency. Here, there's a villager watching the news report on the TV, but if we go through frame by frame, the screen changes size as it settles into place. This is because the screen isn't really there. It's put in afterwards in post, and it looks like the tracking wasn't great.
What? No!
So what can we do?
In this shot, there's a light directly above this villager's head, so when he moves, he's just going in and out of dark and light. So this isn't really a technical issue, but it is bad lighting.
How about this?
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Yay. To make toast!
We also found a couple of texture issues. Look at the texture on that megaphone. It looks all blurry. Minecraft textures are super small. They're usually only 16 pixels wide. And when you stretch that over an object, a lot of 3D software likes to smooth it out and get rid of that pixely look. But we want it pixely. That's what makes Minecraft Minecraft. So you have to tell the software not to do that. Here's what our videos would be like if we didn't do that.
I hate it! Switch it back! Go, go, go! Go, go!
Here, the texture on the villagers' helmets is all stretched. And I don't really know why. It looks like a UV issue, but in the file, they render just fine. Sometimes things just go wrong and there's no explanation for it. And this video has its own share of motion blur glitches. That brings the Villager News 3 total to... Oh, not bad. I bet there's more that we missed though, so let us know if you find any.
Oh, imagine they
And
messed
finally,
this up.
Villager News 4. The villagers are sent into battle with the testificates in a D-Day style attack. So this video was actually animated before Villager News 3, but it was left unfinished for about a year. If you watch them both, you might be able to see that number 3's animation and lighting are a little bit better. Okay, so our first problem is right here.
Yay! I am now a boat. Yay! Let's go!
He turned
Right,
into
let's
a
slow that
boat.
all the way down. So when the camera whips over to the right, you can see this villager here is actually 2 villagers inside each other. Also, the motion blur is an issue, but we'll leave that for the inevitable barrage of dings at the end. You know it's gonna happen. So Villager News 4 has really janky physics all around because the bullets fired from the guns are simulated dynamic objects. And that means you can just fling them around, smash things into them, or even make a bowl of nice tasty villager soup. And the simulations are rarely perfect. Over here we have one of those dynamic villagers getting nudged by a villager running past. And you think he's safe, but then this guy comes along and just blasts through him as if he weighs nothing. Also, this villager is floating.
What are you doing here? This is not your battle!
He's right, it's not. That came later. But check out this villager on the floor here. He gets pushed right into the sandbox, and then, poof, he's just gone. Like, where did he go? So when physics messes up that bad, there's a couple of places he could be. Now either he just got pushed through the block and ended up under the world, or he got yeeted 50 miles in a random direction.
Tank!
Tank!
This guy just disappears.
Bye-bye.
This shot is probably the worst of them all when it comes to physics and motion blur problems. It's just a mess. So there's an explosion from the tank throwing all these villagers in the air. But as they all land, everything goes a bit crazy. Look at them all, glitching all over the place. It's hard to keep track of just one of them. Okay, back on this shot. Watch this villager. Each wall runs up this block. Now, when we animate crowds of villagers, we simulate them. Each one has its own animation, they can even have their own health system. That big battle in Villager News War was mostly simulated. But back in the olden days of Villager News 4, we had to do each one manually. So what we did was we drew out a path for where we wanted the villagers to run, and then attached them to it. But if the path made a right angle up a block, so did the villager.
Hello. Oh no.
So this villager here is some kind of explosive. Everyone runs away and boom, there it goes. But look, he's still there. Someone forgot to make him invisible after the explosion.
That's me!
Okay, yeah, it was me. Oops. And finally, we can't finish one of these without pointing out all the motion blur issues. So the Villager News 4 total comes to...
32.
Yeah,
Wow.
that one had a lot of problems. Of course, there will be more issues there that we missed, so if you spot them, please let us know in the comments. You guys found some last time. In Villager News 1, this guy running along was floating the entire time. Nice spot, Kassam Saturn Boy is cutie. Well, that's a name. Zoopy Goopert noticed this weird shading on the arms here. I'll have to figure out why it did that, I have no idea. Again, nice spot. And a bunch of you noticed that in the video talking about the mistakes, there was a mistake. Transparent is spelled wrong. We do notice some of the issues on our videos before we release them, but for a lot of them, you have to weigh out whether fixing them is worth the time or the money. And being an animation studio on YouTube isn't exactly lucrative. We're a small team of people, but this is our full-time job, and YouTube revenue is rough at the best of times.
You take how much from us? 30%. That seems a bit high. 35%. What? That's ridiculous. 40. 45.
So that's why we rely on you guys over on Patreon. Becoming a patron helps us out immensely. Like, these amazing people here are responsible for the videos we've been able to make recently. I'd also like to give a little shout out to our ultimate patrons, the Wolf and Horton clan and Destructo Dino 142. All of these guys are the backbone of our content, and if you want to join them, you can get some really cool element stuff when we release it. And if you watched up to this part, thank you very much, and that's it for this edition of Everything Wrong With Our Videos. Let us know what video you want us to cover next.
Explaining things. We are explaining things.
Wow. That was so weird. I know I kept my mouth quiet for a while, but that was so weird. What the heck? This is just so weird. Well, there you go, Minu. And there I have YouTube. So here's everything wrong with not mine, but their videos, Villager News. Villager News, like I said. So yeah, bye-bye.